This week on Streaming Star Wars with Ammo and Fletzer, we talk about Chapter 4 of The Mandalorian with a master scoop breaker, Jason Ward of MakingStarWars.net. We finally meet Cara Dune, and there's a new top streaming show in the US. So grab a flagon of Spotchka.
No one's gonna find us here.
There's a new top streaming show in the U.S.
It's Streaming Star Wars Chapter 4 here on a Friday, and we are celebrating the fact that The Mandalorian did not abandon the child after 3 episodes. I am Fletzer. No, that's just a joke. I'm Ammo. He's Fletzer. And here we are on a Friday talking about what was an episode that we're going to dive into here momentarily, and it's directed by Bryce Dallas Howard. And we are going to explore what happens when the Mandalorian, who is described as an anti-hero, teams up with Cara Dune, who's a rebel soldier, and they have to defend a village, and it all feels like a plot we've heard many times long, long ago in the same galaxy far, far away. Pete, how are you doing on this Friday, man?
You know, I'm good. It's the day after Thanksgiving. I'm still recovering. I drank an entire bottle of wine myself. I had offered it to others, but nobody joined me. But you know what? That's what happens when you have the holidays. You need a little bit of wine. You need a lot of food and some good times and a day to recover. And thank goodness the Mandalorian comes out and it gives us something to do when we wake up in the morning on Fridays. It's like a Friday thing now. It's bizarre.
I would have drank with you, but we live several states apart. But I'm curious, can you explain this wine that you were drinking? Because it was made like when I was 2.
You're not that much younger than, but maybe you are. I'm not sure of your age. Yeah. So yesterday,
I'm legal.
Like
if that helps.
We had friends and family over, and so I went to this wine collection that I've been doing for years, and he was like, I'm going to open up an older bottle of wine, and found a bottle of wine that, as I said yesterday on Twitter, is old enough to drink itself. This beautiful Italian wine. I thought of you. I mean, you're Italian, so you dig it.
I'm a paisan.
And it was just great. It was great, and that's why I ended up finishing it, because I had offered some to my brother-in-law. He had like a half a glass, and then nobody else was drinking it. I couldn't let this thing go. I mean, that would be sacrilege.
It would be. Well, and also they say that once you open a bottle of wine, like you have to drink it within that next week, or else it goes bad. So if you're joining us live,
is it next week? I thought it was within the next hour. Okay, maybe.
No. If you say it's the next hour, you're just an alcoholic. But that's okay. I mean, I accept anybody in my life. I want to say big thanks for you joining us. Chapter 4, Episode 4 of The Mandalorian. It's our 4th episode here of Streaming Star Wars. And so we're really excited about the opportunity to dive into this episode. As we have promoted this week, our special guest this week is supposed to be Jason Ward. We believe a family issue has arisen. We think everything's okay, but we're still working with him, trying to get him on the show this week. So we're going to continue working with that. If he's unable to join us by the end of this episode, no problem at all. We'll bring him on next week.
Bring him back again sometime. Absolutely.
Right, but it felt like family has to come first. Like we just had Thanksgiving, as you mentioned, and it's a time where we need to put our family and friends and maybe your favorite Star Wars podcast ahead of everyone else. But
yeah, I mean, hey, what are you going to do?
It's whatever you're going to do. He's just busy dropping spoilers about things in The Rise of Skywalker, so I can't blame him. The guy's a busy guy.
No, he's got things to do. That's good, though. I mean,
he's got things to do, and he's got hope to maintain. Like, he had a spoiler drop the other day, and I won't name which one, but I read it, and I was like, oh, see, I can already tell you I'm going to like this Star Wars story better because of this. We have, and we're kind of in an interesting time, right? Because we hit the middle of season 1, so we're halfway through 8 episodes, and we just had episode 4 drop today. And we know that season 2 is already in production. Favreau posting on Instagram with fury of the child on set, and so we got a couple of headlines, a couple of stories that I think can bring some interesting conversation as far as Star Wars on Disney Plus is concerned. And the first thing that kind of jumped out to me as far as how this week evolved was the fact that The Mandalorian in 4 weeks now has taken down Stranger Things as the most downloaded show on streaming. And that's a pretty impressive accomplishment, Pete.
Yeah, was it 4 weeks in? Actually, 3 weeks in, right? And there's I guess it's called Parrot, and it's a company that tracks this sort of thing. And I'm having a visitor. What's up, Jack? How are you?
Good.
Okay, good.
It's Jackson. Hey, babe. Hey, bud.
He's back now. Now that you're here, you have to speak. You're live in front of millions of people.
You're live, Jax.
Okay.
All right, bud. Go back to Minecraft. I'll see you later. Okay. Okay.
Hey, that's such a good parent move right there. Nothing like trying to preoccupy your child by putting him in front of a screen for 4 hours playing
Just-
Minecraft.
If I could do that, it works, right? I mean, he needs to recognize that I have a show to do here, and he needs to learn how to do puzzling.
Anyone who watches the show knows that we talk just as much about your parenting as Star Wars.
Right.
I think you had a
I'm
point you
gonna
were
do-
trying to
I'm
make.
going to start another show that's called Star Wars Parenting, and it's going
Oh.
to be all about bad choices that I'm making. But
A lot of regrets. A lot of regrets. Regrets on a Friday.
But oh, look at that! Millions of Jax fans, according to Charlie Skywalker. That's awesome. Thanks, man.
Hey, that's actually a good idea, Pete. Real quick, can we just jump in real quick? I want to say hi to Mr.
Yeah.
Rez, Abel Lusk, WSTR Media. We got Todd in there, right? We've got a few others. We got Ms. P, Chris King joining us in the live chat. So just want to say thank you so much for making us a part of your Friday. Going in the afternoon. Meant to shout you guys out earlier, but Pete had that great segue, so I jumped on that. I was a bandwagoner right there. But no, it's really cool that we can have the show a couple hours earlier than our usual, and still people are able to be part of the Star Wars conversation.
Absolutely. So cool. So what was I saying?
You were
We
talking
went-
about how it's incredible that in 3 weeks the Mandalorian can top out Stranger Things.
Right. It's Stranger Things. So Stranger Things was had been the top downloaded television show in streaming services for 21 straight weeks, I think it was, and it was taken down by The Mandalorian. And what to me is most impressive about that is the fact that I'm not sure that everybody still has Disney Plus that's going to get it. Actually, I'm very sure that not everybody who has Disney Plus is going to get it. In fact, I don't know. I'd love to hear from you, Dave, and even the folks in the chat room. I brought up Disney Plus over Thanksgiving dinner, and a number of people are like, "Oh yeah, we still have to get that," or "We're thinking about getting that," and so it's not even fully in the systems, and it's already The Mandalorian is outperforming Stranger Things without a doubt, probably the most popular streamed show of all time so far, Stranger Things, I would say. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting because I was just talking to my dad. I was like, "Hey, man, like, are you gonna get Disney Plus yet? Where are we on this? Are we sharing an account?" Uncle Bob Iger says that we can have as many as 4 people using this account simultaneously before he gets suspicious. So what are we gonna do here? And he's like, "Well, I still use a Tube TV. I can't use Disney Plus on grabble. So I guess he's gonna get it for his laptop or something. But yeah, I mean, he has. I don't think he even fully understands, or not that he doesn't understand. I don't think he's even fully aware that we're going to get so much content on Disney Plus here just in the next 18 months. And so, I'm going home today, and we're going to do some holiday shopping and try and take advantage of his Black Friday. And I might see if we get time. I'll pull up and I'll watch like the first episode with him. But I think that there's a lot of fans that are kind of in my dad's age bracket, that's 65 and older. Probably most of them have at least one newer TV where they can put a USB, they can put an Amazon Fire Stick in there or something and pull it up.
Sure.
But I think, there's a lot that we will be accumulating over the next 18 months, especially. And, we talked about it before on the show. 2025, Disney Studios projects 103 million subscribers for Disney Plus. And right now they're at, I don't know, the first week update we got was 10 million. And I'm sure 2 weeks later they've doubled that at least by now. So every day it's going to get more. I mean, did you see that Hulu now has a holiday special right now where you can get Hulu service for $2 a month?
Really?
Which is a little bit more enticing. If you did that and then you did that with just the basic Disney Plus package, you're saving money. But long term, I still think you're better off doing that 3-service bundle for $13.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think
that's just me.
Yeah, well, and again, I think what's interesting is this is the beginning of the streaming wars, right? We're seeing, what started as a great idea to pay, $12 a month or whatever for Netflix. Now the competition is so intense, and there's so many things out there. Apple TV, I just got the notice from Apple that because I bought an iPhone recently, I get a full free year of Apple TV, which is probably the only way I would engage in it. But there's so much, and now this whole concept of cutting the cord, it costs as much or more than it would have if you were keeping a full premium service. But
We got rid of Netflix. We got rid of Netflix. I think our subscription will actually end tomorrow officially. I wanted to keep it long enough to be able to watch Scorsese's Irishman. The Irishman
Right.
was great, 3.5 hours, pacing and interesting. But oh my gosh, so happy that Joe Pesci came out of retirement because he's gonna. I hope he wins freaking Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars. He was awesome. But yeah, dropping Netflix, and because of that, now we were looking at having like $35, almost $40 worth of streaming services a month.
Yep.
On top of having, our internet, it just was like you're not saving. So just started cutting off services, and it's a great move. And I'd be curious what people in the live chat are thinking about this. Do they think that this audience for The Mandalorian is going to expand a lot this next, I don't know, year, 18 months? I mean, I'm thinking that if you are, I don't know, what do you think, 18 to 35, this is like prime for you because you know about Disney Plus happening, you're paying attention to the headlines, and you have a revenue, like you have income to where you can buy that service for you to use. I wonder if we're also going to see a really big pop with subscription numbers when the Clone Wars drops, and younger parents that grew up watching Clone Wars are like, okay, well, let's get this service now. We're going to watch it with little Johnny, or just parents wanting to watch that content with their kids. So I think that there is every show. Once it drops, you're going to see a little bit of a pop. Yeah. But I'm also kind of curious to see how long the average subscriber stays subscribed. Because
it's interesting because I think that Disney has. I think we have been paying attention to Disney promotion because of The Mandalorian and because as Star Wars fans, this is going to be our source for Star Wars after Rise of Skywalker. But interesting, I think I don't know if they've done a good enough job of telling people what's involved in this service. At Thanksgiving yesterday, speaking to my brother-in-law about it, and he wasn't even sure what are we going to find on Disney Plus. So I think they have to market it, and I think it's going to grow. And again, but I think that's one of the things that's amazing about The Mandalorian debunking or dethroning rather Stranger Things. It's done it in its. It's done it with sort of as it's ramping up, so it's pretty impressive. Impressive.
This is a sanctuary for fun and safe Star Wars spoiler fun when it comes to The Mandalorian. Yep. And we're glad that you're with us here on a Friday. And I just want to give some clarification. The study that came out, and I pulled this information from Slash Films, but it was for the week November 17th to November 23rd. Parrot Analytics, making over 1 million demand expressions. Stranger Things only had 81 million. So that's
100 million.
That's how that worked out. So, really interesting. Let us know in the live chat if you're watching live, or let's say you're catching us on the rewind. No problem at all. You can always tweet us your thoughts at StreamingSW on the Twitter. That's our handle. You can also make sure you're watching that replay here on the Beyond the Blasters YouTube channel. You can also get the podcast version of the show on the Around the Galaxy podcast stream. Okay, so bringing us back here now, our second topic to kind of kick off our conversation on this Friday. Deborah Chow speaks with Gizmodo, and I believe it was a friend of our Beyond the Blast Doors, Jermaine Lucier, was talking with Deborah Chow about her experience directing the Chapter 3 of The Mandalorian, and then also got into the fact, how is this going to help you approach Kenobi series when that really gets underway. And so I got a quote here that I'll read, and it's going to be kind of lengthy, so you're going to have to look at my face for quite a little bit here, but we'll get through this together. But I thought it was pretty interesting because she says in this interview a couple days ago, she says the situation is so complex for Obi-Wan personally, and in a way, the state of the galaxy, you sort of need time to explore it. And to be honest, there are loads of other stories within the period as well. It's quite a few years. So there's so much going on between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope that has not been explored. The idea of being able to go into a character journey, plus the politics, plus the vastness of the Empire and what's going on is very exciting just because it feels like a proper period of history. And sometimes that is hard to do in 2 hours. So again, she's alluding to the point that she definitely believes that it's better for this story, this Kenobi story, to be told in a 6-episode miniseries rather than in a 2 to 2.5 hour movie, as it was originally believed to be. And we had Stephen Gilroy, right? He was involved with being the director originally for that movie. There was a script made. Ewan McGregor has gone on late night saying how they've been in talks for years about this. So it's interesting to see the evolution. We just saw 4 and how Bryce Dallas Howard approached the Mandalorian, Pete. But I think and we'll get into this later, but I think if you put episodes 1, 2, 3, and 4 next to each other, Deborah Chow has the most unique angle to scenes, and I think that we're probably excited the most to see what she does with this Kenobi series. Are you excited to hear? Because we always assume that Kenobi, old Ben was sitting in the dunes, for 19 years watching Luke grow up. She seems to believe that there's all this other stuff happening that we're actually going to get to see in this Kenobi series.
Yeah, so I'll throw out a hot take here.
Okay.
Hashtag hot take. I loved what Deborah Chow did with her episode. I thought it was amazing, and I thought to me, it's one of my favorite episodes of the 4 so far. But my impression, or what I believe the Kenobi series needs to be very successful, is it does need to have that sort of emotional take and that emotional side and the intellectual sort of dealing with the all the things that Obi-Wan is dealing with in his time in the desert, watching after Luke and watching it being sort of isolated. That said, I feel like Bryce Howard did an amazing job. And I would love to see perhaps she might be a little bit better for it. Now, that's impossible to say because we know nothing about the series. And that quote that you just read, it was very interesting to me that so much emphasis from Deborah Chow is around the things beyond just Obi-Wan. So if we're talking about, if it's going to be an action series, which would surprise me, but I would love to see, then yes, I'd love to see Deborah doing it. If it is that emotional side, that contemplative side, I think an Obi-Wan series directed with more of a Bryce Dallas Howard sort of feel may work. That being said, we know nothing about the series yet, so it's really hard to have a strong opinion one way or the other. But I'm excited to see where it goes, and I'm excited that she wants to take it into things happening beyond just at Obi-Wan's front doorstep.
Well, I think you're absolutely right, and I feel like you have to in this series, and I guess I always just carried around a lot of doubt about how they would execute this project because for the longest time, I really just wanted to believe that old Ben was in the desert for 19 years,
right,
studying the Force, and I was fine with that. Like, there's some cool things, you read the one book, the 40 Adventures, from a certain point of view, 40 short stories of Star Wars. We know that Qui-Gon was communicating with Obi-Wan, teaching him the ways of the Force and the afterlife, and I, as a canon junkie, as a Jedi junkie, I can really get into that. Now, yeah, does he stroll down to Mos Espa or go into Mos Eisley once in a while? Sure, okay, gets into a bar brawl, fine, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But you know what? Getting a look at the Empire in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope really gets me excited, and I'm not sure how they would be able to. It would. My fear with doing this was it was always going to be feeling like two different shows happening simultaneously, right? You'd have your Adventures of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and let's look over here in the galaxy and see what the Empire is up to. So if there's a way to weave them, and maybe it's a thing where they have like an Inquisitor that's on the hunt for Kenobi. Like Kenobi is like one of the last Jedi confirmed not killed, so they're scouring the galaxy for him, And if there's a way to weave that, yeah, that'd be really cool. But I'm just excited that Deborah Chow has this. Clearly an awareness of what the galaxy looks like at that point in time. Yep. And if we can get more of that, whether 6 or 8 episodes, I'm pretty sure it's just 6. I'm really excited about that. And she clearly knows how to shoot action sequences. And of course, you get your second team on there doing a lot of that stuff too. But it's her vision, and I'm really excited to see what she's able to do with not just the action, because I think there will be action in that series, but I'm looking forward to how she really tells the story of Kenobi. I think it's going to be really intimate, character-driven, which is really going to be nice. It's not going to be like, in The Mandalorian, you feel like you're getting these checkpoints that we're reaching into. And maybe that's what we'll just use right now to segue into the next part of our conversation here, Pete. But definitely want to know what you think about Deborah Chow and her vision for Kenobi and the state of the galaxy and what he will be facing individually and the weight of the galaxy on him. I mean, this is a guy that can feel millions of voices crying out, in A New Hope. I wonder if he can feel the burden of the galaxy while he is there on Tatooine. Which actually, what makes so this is interesting, Pete. I'm talking with a buddy of mine, and he's telling me that Obi-Wan Kenobi, you can argue that he is maybe one of the most powerful Jedi, and that would be fine. But he's the Jedi that has experienced the most loss.
Oh yeah,
And
without a doubt.
and I think that would be an interesting take, going back to like feeling the pain of those dying on Alderaan and all that stuff. But like he has the love of his life taken away from him. As a kid, he's taken away from his parents. He feels overly committed to the Jedi Council. He keeps losing everything, loses his best friend, leaves him for dead on a volcanic planet. Time and time again, he is the most patient Jedi because no matter what is thrown at him, he is one with the Force through his journey until he dies. So I thought that was something that was popped in my head. I thought that was kind of cool.
You also have to imagine he's also probably suffering from ridiculous survivor's guilt, right? He watched his best friend and his student burn to death. He witnessed Order 66. He saw a video of Anakin killing children. He knows he doesn't know how many other Jedi survived, but he knows he's among the last. He watched his own mentor be killed, and as you said, the love of his life was. So he's had kind of a crappy life. So dealing with that and recognizing that his job or his lot in life is now he has to protect the child, which I think, or the child, not little baby Yoda, but Luke. I think it makes for a very interesting potential series. And again, that's why I'm excited to see where it goes. I've said it before, and when we found out we were getting the Solo film, I thought, interesting. I don't think we need that story, but it turned out to be one of my favorite fun films in all of Star Wars. When I heard about the Obi-Wan story, I know the fan base was ecstatic, but my initial thought, honestly, was, I don't need that story. But I am certain, especially now having seen Deborah Chow work, watching what Star Wars on television can be, I am absolutely, completely excited for it.
It's a good time to be alive. And, it's interesting. In the live chat right now, joining us for streaming Star Wars episode 4 or 3, whatever we're on right now. I shouldn't lose count. We're still in the single digits. But
Number 4.
Yeah, but Mr. Rez is in there, and he's like, well, Yoda felt felt loss for 900 years. But I think the difference between Obi-Wan and Yoda, and I think Yoda, what's different with a lot of Jedi is the fact that he did not, as far as we know, allow himself to be open to certain emotions. From what we know, he did not have love. And because of that, he did not have loss of love. And that impacts a human differently. I mean, we've all had a girlfriend or a boyfriend that didn't last, forever. And so, just because you date a person doesn't mean you have to marry them, right? Like, you keep searching for that one person. In the story, Satine was Obi's person, so, I mean, he loses her. So, I think that's the difference. Also, Yoda, I think, is a poor example to compare to because Yoda also was blind to a lot of other things, which is almost why you can kind of put the entire Sith return on his shoulders, because he and the Council were too blind to see. Arrogance, in a way. If you want to use the key word from The Last Jedi, the hubris of the Jedi Council, not to be able to recognize the rising of the Sith, the return, the revenge of the Sith. So, interesting conversation that's happening in the live chat. One of the great benefits of watching the show live with us on Fridays is that you're able to be part of that conversation. And you got guys like Mr. Rez in there, you've got Rural Farm Boy, you have Todd in there, you have JLS Comics. They're having great Star Wars conversation. Jesse's like, so he didn't love Yaddle. We still cannot confirm or deny. We do not think the love child is a love child. We just think it is the child, but we do not believe it is the love child or maybe the hate child of Yaddle and Yoda. We're not sure. Also, if it takes 50 years for a baby of this species to grow, right? Like at 50 years, you're still a child. Like, I wonder how long you can go before you're shooting blanks. Like, could Yoda still get it going? At age 820? We're not quite sure. I mean, for Yaddle's case, I guess we're hoping so. I mean, Yaddle was getting up in age as well. She's like 400 years old, and she's looking like, my biological clock has been ticking for a couple of centuries, and I would like to produce life. So that's interesting.
Where are you getting all this from?
This is what's going on in the live chat. I kid you not. This is happening right now in real life, and now Todd's talking about the child being a clone again. So there you go. Oh, hey, I want to shout out JLS Comics. Jesse, good buddy of mine. He's on the BTBD team. He just put up a couple of reviews for The Mandalorian, and his review on episode 4 is going to go up on beyondtheblastdoors.com. Pete and I are still trying to figure this out, but how we're going to streamline Mandalorian, like the Disney Star Wars content, the Disney Plus content, how we'll streamline that from our individual websites to the Streaming Star Wars website. But go check out Jesse's work, because he does a really good job for us continuing the conversation that we have here on this show and other shows. So thanks again for Jesse and everyone being in the live chat. And now Charlie's talking about Yoda taking a little blue pill, but wouldn't it be a little green pill? Okay, moving on. Okay, great. So Streaming Star Wars episode 4 continues on this Friday. Pete is regretting everything. He's miserable. You can see him. I'm going to put him full screen so that way when you're watching this episode or listening in the rewind, oh no, you look like Jerry Jones watching that football game last night where Dak Prescott couldn't score from 10 and out first. And oh god, it was such a bad football game. I wish the NFL, this is a tangent, and also isn't the NFL owned by Disney, so isn't this kind of relatable? I don't know. So it was on ABC, right? Or maybe it was the CBS game. I don't know. So yeah, Jerry Jones.
I'll tell you what, I'll come back when you guys are done.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. It's like, Jerry Jones is just so mad because his quarterback can't score, and Jason Garrett's, holding himself on the sidelines because he's losing his job. And I just wish the NFL would decide Thanksgiving Day games after like week 8 or 9 instead of at the very beginning of the season, because all the games yesterday were crap, except for that Lions game. That kind of was a little bit of a fun. Okay, cool. So here we are.
Welcome to Streaming NFL.
Yeah, Streaming NFL here on a Friday. I'm Fletcher, he's Ammo, right? That's how it goes? Okay, so before we go on, Pete, can you do me a favor, though? Kessel Run is doing a really cool thing, the Kessel Run podcast. Can you explain this toy run they're doing?
So yeah, actually, this is MakingStarWars.net, where Around the Galaxy is a part of the Making Star Wars podcast network, and through Jason Ward and his buddies there, a number of the West Coast podcasts like Sith List and Rogue One, and now this is podcasting. They are doing a toy collection for kids in I think it's a local hospital. And so you can order gifts through Amazon. There's a list of gifts that you can order that will be sent directly to the organization, and they will distribute them. And it's really easy to do. I did it. I picked out 3 things. I spent just $30. I spent $30 and sent 3 things over to them. It's really easy to do. If you go to @KesselToyRun on Twitter, you can get all the information. We have it up here on the screen now, and we'll put a link to it down in the show notes. But it's a really great way to give back. That $7 action figure can mean the world to a kid who's dealing with some really crummy things. So, but that's the Kessel Toy Run. It's one of it's a program done by the Making Star Wars podcast network. My podcast, we joined late. We didn't make the flyer, but we're supporting it wherever we can. And
Ouch.
if you get a chance, it'd be great to go check it out @Kessel Toy Run, and you can just order the stuff straight through Amazon. So that's where we are. That's I'm glad. Thanks for bringing that up, making sure we were able to get that information out there.
Absolutely. I mean, it's obviously a great cause, right? And so it's really great to spread the word, and it's really cool. I think it's just really special when you see different shows, in this case, the whole network, getting together to really create some positive change this holiday season. I think that it's easy from the outside in to look in and see a bunch of, adults and teens, depending on what show you watch, but they're spending their time on YouTube streams talking about Star Wars passionately, and it's easy maybe for someone to judge, but look at the good. As someone else that does something I think that's really impressive is oh gosh, what is his name? Jawin. He's on Twitter. He used to work for DC Comics, and now he's on his own with his wife, and they do this comic book drive every year for veterans. And,
oh wow!
And they get like tens of thousands of comic books from the country donated, and it's pretty inspiring. And so when you see here we go, Jason Inman. I'm sorry, Jason Inman is the guy. He used to work for DC. He's a Midwest guy. He's from Kansas, so I empathize with him. Like, we understand cornfields, and so that's not true. There's not that many cornfields because of climate change. It happens. So, but no, it's cool to see like the nerd community doing these outrageously cool things. So kudos to everyone involved with that. Please follow Pete's example and picking up a few items there. Okay, you know what? Let's kind of just dive into this episode, because I'm craving talking about this chapter because I think that it's going to be a little bit more controversial between the two of us, and I think
Yep.
I think that's good. We're not going to agree on everything, and we haven't agreed on everything so far in the show. And so, Pete, do you want to kind of explain how we do this 2x2 here on Streaming Star Wars?
Yeah, so each week, Dave and I are going to pick 4 things that stood out to us from the most recent episode, 2 from him, and then 2 from me, and then we talk about things that we like and or don't necessarily like about the episode. You know, instead of giving you a recap, we assume, again, this is a very spoiler-heavy show. We make an assumption that you've already watched the episode. If you haven't, A, what are you waiting for? And B, go do it and then come back and watch this and get part of that conversation. But so Dave and I each pick 2 things that we really dug about the particular episode. And Dave, I'm going to let you kick us off this week with what was the first thing that you enjoyed about Chapter 4, Sanctuary?
I am so honored that you would allow me to go first. Cara Dune,
Please.
Cara Dune was heavily anticipated this entire time. As long as we've known that Gina Carano was part of this series, people wanted to see her in the Star Wars world. And while I will, we've even said it before she popped up on camera, you don't get her cast in your cast for her acting ability. She's a physical presence. And there were a couple times where I thought she was pretty convincing, and there were other times where I'm like, yeah, she could use probably a director with more experience that can get an actor to kind of dig and pull something out more. But she has this really cool scene with the Mandalorian where she's explaining how the rebellion was put to use after the events of Return of the Jedi. Again, we're 4 to 5 years past the events of Return of the Jedi. So really cool to find out. And she goes on to explain how the fact that she was a shock trooper for the Rebel Alliance. And then after the fall of the Empire, she decides, she's going to become a soldier for hire because, she's brought on to basically be a guard for politicians and administrators. And that's not the life that she wants. She said, that's not the life that I signed up for. So she went on to be kind of her own thing, her own soldier. And, I'm interested in her armor because it is kind of reminiscent to me of Saw Gerrera's. I thought about that.
Yep.
Yeah, just like the green top thing. But, I mean, that might just be that's just a stretch maybe. But that's what I thought of when I saw her. But I did enjoy that context that we got. And especially when the ATST shows up right there at the end of the episode. I think it's, I think it feels a lot more grounded now in that time period. I definitely feel comfortable in getting to see the galaxy, post those events. Those little snippets really help me enjoy the show. What do you think, Pete?
Yeah, so I think this is one of those places where we would have benefited from an episode that was longer than 35 minutes because to me, I like many people in the live chat, I really enjoyed the episode. I can't say that I didn't enjoy the episode.
Right.
That being said, as we were saying, this episode was not perfect. I felt like it was their relationship felt rushed. It felt like they knew each other from before because they got together and got to the same page so quickly together. So here's where I think, and I think I might have said this to you, Dave, before we went online, but it feels like what they're doing in these first 4 episodes is setting you up to get to know some characters that are all going to come together, perhaps either by the end of this season or kick off the second season. So, like, we've gotten to know, of course, we've gotten to know Baby Yoda. We've gotten to know Carl Weathers a bit. We've gotten to know IG-11, although 10 minutes worth, but really fun and interesting character. And Cara Dune. And I can't imagine that the posters were, I can't imagine they were being that deceptive with promotion that we would see these characters all together on the screen. Now, keeping in mind, we have 8 episodes of this show. We have a whole second season. So there's no rush to bring the characters together, right? They don't need to meet in 20 minutes and then become best friends. But I think that was what felt a little bit strange about this to me, is I would have liked to have gotten to know what the connection is or why the Mandalorian and Cara Dune hit it off so quickly together.
It's like when he walked in the cantina, right? Or whatever that little shop was. He walks in and he immediately notices her. They make eye contact. He starts asking the waitress about her. And so I don't think it was a prior relation. It's just like that thing where, like, almost like with Nick Nolte's character, right?
Yep.
The moment he comes up to Cruel or whatever his name is, the Mandalorian and him are now friends, and they're going to work together so that way The Mandalorian can go get the bounty. So it's like it's
Yeah,
it's classic TV where it's just like we're not going to take the time to explain. They're going to meet and they're going to go forward.
it is classic TV, but I think this may be an artifact of the fact they weren't sure what Disney Star Wars television was going to be, right? So,
Right.
for example, if this was Game of Thrones, where you take a whole season to walk across Westeros, you could have done that here, but instead, because it does feel like a sort of a traditional television show where it's like two characters meet, either they hit it off or they don't, and then they roll from there. That being said, I think the hype for Gina Carano was worth it. I think she was a phenomenal badass. I think she played her role. She got her "come to mama" line, which I thought was fantastic, and so I enjoyed her. I agree with you. I think a little bit slightly different direction may have helped her, but I think she felt like a Star Wars character, which I think every single character that I've seen come into the show, that's where my biggest concern had been going in is, are these going to feel like Star Wars characters? And she felt like a Star Wars character, which was great.
Yeah, it is, and we can touch on this later. The episode in general kind of felt like a rehash of a story that we've seen before on Clone Wars a few different times, a few different ways, but we can talk about that later. Do you want to talk more about how?
Well,
go ahead.
Let's hit on that now, because I think it's important because it's directly related to her character. I agree. Go ahead and say what you were saying to me offline before. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, I think the episode is fine, but we've seen something like this at least twice in the Clone Wars. There was season 1, episode, what was it? Episode 13, where you get those like squirrel little things that, I think it's Anakin and Ahsoka have to like teach them how to defend their village against the Separatists. And then there's like later there's like these there's like these noodly looking creatures. I'm sorry, I couldn't find that episode, but there's another episode where Anakin specifically is teaching this species how to defend its village with a staff, and it's like the same 1, 2, 3, 4 combination. So it's like, I'm not, I know Dave Filoni did Clone Wars, and I know that Star Wars rhymes because poetry and stuff, but it really was like, man, it really kind of felt in some ways a carbon copy of that episode, other than the fact that you have this ATST that they're trying to get to walk in the hole. And like when they came up with that whole idea of the walker into the hole, I'm like, well, what if it stopped short? Which is exactly what happened.
Which it
so
did.
Like, it's a little predictable. And so like again, this series is going to have to play to the mature fans because it is a darker, grittier Star Wars, and we love it. And I think that's when Star Wars is at its best. In a way, but it also has to appeal to the 6, 7, and 8-year-olds that mommy and daddy let watch the show, which the whole falling into a hole gimmick that works. But I will tell you, I don't want to bash on it too much, but it definitely did feel like we took this plot line from Clone Wars, and overall though the episode feels like filler, and that's something that you've been saying, Pete.
Yeah, it definitely felt like the first filler episode, and again, filler can be some of your favorite episodes. So I don't necessarily take that as a bad thing, but I feel like it was the first one that kind of missed the mark a little bit for me. I mean, to be fair, I've watched the first 3 episodes multiple times. This one I've only seen 1.5 times before we got on, but it just was a little bit off the mark. However, taking to our second point here, the thing that I liked, my favorite thing about the episode was that it was a little bit longer, and that it didn't end where you expected it to end. Meaning, it was just about done. He was going to leave the child behind, and everything was going to be fine. And I did like the fact that they didn't forget about the plot twist that the Baby Yoda is still out there and findable, and there's good bounty hunters out there. And I was having a little bit of a panic attack when he was going to leave him behind. I thought, okay, maybe halfway through the season he does leave Baby Yoda behind, and that's why we're not getting Christmas toys for him and the whole thing.
Well, now we are getting Christmas toys, and everyone's complaining about how they look.
That's right, but
no one's ever happy.
No, nobody's ever happy. It's a Star Wars fandom. We're always just happy enough to be unhappy sometimes. But
well Pete, you're a parent. You know how to make people feel miserable. So
it's part of my job. They give you the handbook when you have a kid. But to me, I liked where the episode ended. I liked that it felt like it was over, and then the scope came out and he was back in the crosshairs. And I thought that was really important. Very much like, and I don't want to make this a Sopranos conversation, but a lot of people didn't love the end of The Sopranos. What I loved about the end of The Sopranos was, because you don't know if Tony was shot or not, you got the tension, you got the sense of what his life is like, the constantly questioning what's going on. And I think they did a really nice job here of saying, all right, he's reached a point where I can settle, I can leave the child behind, I can feel good about leaving the child behind. But just as he gets comfortable, and we as the audience get comfortable and start to swallow hard that this is it for Baby Yoda, danger comes and he's got to respond to it. And it's going to drive him for the rest of this series.
I will say, though, that it is interesting to see influences on all these episodes. I mean, every episode so far has had a different director, right, Pete? But we're seeing there are scenes, there's shot framing that is reminiscent of other things. And again, Kurosawa's Seven Samurai, there's imagery there it's kind of present here in this episode 4, this chapter 4, and Jesse in the live chat makes that point. And it's important to make mention of that, is that even though you have 4 different directors so far, and you'll have 5 total this director or this season, you still have consistency, one, in the story that's being told, and kind of how that story looks. I mean, I noticed it with chapter 3 with Deborah Chow. Kind of how she brings ships in and out of frame is a little different from like what Filoni did, or what Rick Fumoa did. But there's also framing differences that Bryce Dallas Howard does that didn't bother me. And so I think a positive is, it definitely seems like all these directors were on board. Where it's like, listen, these are the 5 or 6. Here's the samurai movies and the westerns, and here's the philosophy, and this is going to be kind of our guiding hand as we progress through this story. And I think that holds up, which I'm happy with, because I am one of those people that wishes there was a little bit more, not so much structure, but connectivity with The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. I'm one of those people. I'm not going to insult anyone for what they think about the movie. If it brings you joy, it brings you joy, and I'm so happy for you. But that's me. And so when I see this happening in The Mandalorian, it really brings me a lot of joy, because it's different directors with different eyes, but they still have like that coating of the influence that I really dig, to be able to see Seven Samurai or to recognize that Western theme. I think it's really cool. Pete, do you have a point? Is it your turn, or was that your turn?
No, I very rarely have a point, but that was my,
you talked about how you wanted a little
first
longer.
Point of the 4 points,
and then we just went on a tangent. No, we stayed on
No.
track. It was fine.
Well, no. So you see, we went off on a tangent, but then I pulled it into my point seamlessly, so seamlessly that you didn't even notice.
Wow,
It's good, right?
You're
good,
you're
right?
really talented.
I'm getting better. I'm getting better. It's taking me some time, but
I think you're great.
I'm getting there.
I'm really enjoying. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'll throw it to you for our third point.
Well, I was just going to say, we mentioned Bryce, and I'm a sucker for like any kind of like landscape shot in Star Wars. Big wide shots, see kind of like out. And we just had on screen the shot. It was a wide shot, kind of looking down on the village. You can see the entire village and the scenery behind it. And it kind of reminded me of those like classic prequel shots that Lucas would give you. The ship would fly towards a planet, and then you would cut to like from the atmosphere looking, and you'd see like this heat, like almost like a hemisphere of a planet. And it was kind of reminiscent of that. I thought that was really cool. So
I agree.
The Mandalorian, we talk about lore a lot with Star Wars, and you like the lore of the Jedi or the Empire or whatnot. The Mandalorians, right, have its own lore. That culture has its own lore. And when you start to look at the Mandalorian as a religion, it's really intense. I just watched The Irishman that I mentioned this earlier in the episode. And, Martin Scorsese in all of his movies, he kind of has those aesthetics that are those Scorsesean aesthetics. And it's like these long, continuous shots with no cuts. There's like this Catholic vibe where there's always this imagery there. And maybe I'm sensitive to it, but and not in a bad way either. But, there's a lot of times where like a movie or TV show will have like a take. They will show people in worship a certain way. Maybe that's like they're bored in a pew at church or something or whatnot. And I guess I see that with The Mandalorian in a way, that we are being shown this religion from a foundling's perspective. He is not a Mandalorian, we think, truly, because based on what we have seen with the flashback, And based on what he says in this chapter 4 is that the Mandalorian, he was found about the age of the kids playing in the field with the baby, with the child, and he puts that helmet. He's never taken that helmet off in front of someone else, and it's extremist in a lot of ways, and you empathize with it, which I think is really interesting because you watch the media and you see how extremists get portrayed there, from the Middle East, or you have Christians sometimes shown that way too. So I think it's interesting how Star Wars yet again finds a way to reflect our own society, and you're watching The Mandalorian and you're like, why are you so passionate about this practice? Like, why are you so dedicated? It makes no sense. Oh my God, we say the same thing about Christians, Lutherans, Jewish people. We say it about Muslims. We say it about, we say it about the frickin' what's that? The club. There's a club. The oh my gosh, the Mechanists? No, I can't remember. I had a really good point and I completely chopped it in half. But the point is, it's like we've seen this so many times in our culture that when you see it reflected on screen, I'm saying there, I'm like, what? Just take the damn helmet off and kiss this woman, will you? Oh, but wait, there's, your heart is being pulled towards, the religious right, or the culture of the way. It's like Kenobi with the council. No matter how hard he wanted, no matter how bad he wanted to try, he wasn't going to defy the council. And so I think that's really interesting, and it really humanizes the Mandalorian. And I'm getting a lot of that a lot sooner in this series than I thought. I guess when you get at 8 episodes, you have to move kind of quick, and you do have to address these things early on. And, we've gone from thinking the Mandalorian was a really bad guy to like an okay person in that first half hour of this series. And now the growth here, I think that there might not have been a whole lot of bells and whistles to this episode, but there was some individual growth that was really fantastic.
My dog just scared the crap out of me.
Is that your dog telling me to shut up? I mean, I know I went on a little bit of a rant, but, I was just trying to get into my point. I want to figure out
the dog had it with you. I was still listening, but the dog had it.
No, it's fine.
That's the way he gets when I talk too much.
Not the Illuminati. Who was I thinking of?
I have no idea, but you preface it with the frickin', so you're probably better off not finishing that.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna still look. I don't know. Do you think that I'm just like getting too excited about this lore stuff? I feel like if I had a Jesse Buck or if I had a Patrick Covey here, they would all be foaming at the mouth like me about this.
No, I think what's really interesting about the lore is that it'll be interesting to see how they, or if they address how it's coming out slightly different than what we've seen in Clone Wars and what we saw in Rebels with their, they take the helmets off all the time. Sabine only wore her helmet when she was going into battle. We see they took it off a lot. So I wonder if, and look, we need to have a lot of faith in Filoni. I'm sure Filoni's not going to forget the rules that he's set or he's setting here. There's probably some relationship to being a foundling or wanting to join the Mandalorians or something. But I do think it's really interesting the way we're getting the story about the Mandalorians and what we're seeing about Mandalorian culture. So I like it a lot, and I like that it is sort of a code. And again, it goes to that samurai thing. It goes to that lone gunslinger sort of code, and I think that's a common theme in this series. And I think what they're doing a nice job of two things. I think it's self-discovery at the same time that you're dealing with rules of engagement. So whether it's being part of the guild, the bounty hunter guild, following those rules, do you follow those rules to a fault? And I think we're going to see him face the same issue of being a Mandalorian. I mean, he was tempted by this woman on this sanctuary world, tempted to walk away from even if for just a fleeting second to explore that part of his life. But I think he's just challenged in dealing with the things that are pulling him in different directions. Even the child, even the Yoda figure, he went from not wanting to have anything to do with it to getting to he's so attached to it. He's probably almost a little relieved that he has to stick with it.
Probably, and I think something you mentioned when what the show is about, it's I don't know if it's abandonment, but I think the show is about finding your place, which I think honestly is all of Star Wars. Where do you fit in correlation to everything around you? You see that with a farm boy on Tatooine. You see that with the 14-year-old queen on Naboo. You see it all throughout Star Wars, and so that's what the Mandalorian here is trying to figure out here, and I appreciate that exploration. And I was thinking of the Masons. I have a friend that's a Mason. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that out loud, but he's a Mason, and
I think it's just as long as you don't say who it is, you're probably okay.
oh yeah, but there's some groups that are a little bit more, a little bit more strict, a little bit more extreme than others, and I'm just a Catholic. I just like to drink wine. I'm not perfect. I like to drink a lot and make inappropriate jokes. Okay, so live chat is bumping, and the live chat is, oh yes, Dave Filoni is the next director to direct the episode of The Mandalorian, according to Rural Farm Boy. So Chapter 5, rather, will be directed by Filoni again. And I'm excited to get to his return. We'll talk about that later in the show, though. But it looks like everyone in the live chat having a really good conversation there, which is really exciting because sometimes I go off into scary places in this world. Okay, so we've talked about the lore of the Mandalorian, the religion, and the secrets that we're learning there, which is pretty cool. We talked about Cara Dune. We've talked about how a runtime in a lot of ways could have helped out this episode. I actually did like the fact that it was shorter because to me it was kind of filler, and I hope that when Bryce gets a next chance to direct an episode, it's a lot more intense. I want to see what you can bring. Point 4. You want to talk about the Loth Cat and the ATST? So I guess you're talking about like canon connections, right?
A little bit of canon connections. I think it was cool that we got our first live action Loth Cat. And again, that's a Filoni thing dropped in there. It was great to see the ATST and how it was used. And I've read some real quick thinking that it's the Ewoks were able to take it down and that sort of thing. What's that same kind of thing? And I think it shows it was a reinforcement of one of the common themes of Star Wars is that primitive cultures versus technology, primitive cultures find a way to win, and I think that was proven here. Of course, I don't know why. I hate to be that guy, but I'm going to do it. I don't know why he didn't just go and grab his ship and fly it over and blast it, but that's I don't want to be a yeah but guy. So I think.
Well, do you think that was? Did that have anything to do with the fact that he was in this place? The reason why he was here in the first place was to hide away. He said for a couple of months, even though he took that job from, Grief before he left. Maybe that job's canceled now because he shot Grief. I don't know, but he's going to lay low there for a couple of months. Maybe if he flies that ship, maybe I don't know how known the Razor Crest is. I would imagine not a lot, but if you have that ship do that damage, I don't know if that somehow would have disrupted this cover. I think
that's a good point.
That might have been also too convenient, but maybe we're supposed to assume, he was trying to maintain some stealth while on the planet. Well, he even says that to Cara Dune at the end of the episode. He's like, hey, word's going to get around now that we've done this. You might want to get the hell out of here, which I thought was going to set her up joining him on the ship, and then we were going to start getting this crew to form, and it's like, no, we'll just catch you later. So there's like a lot of in and out. I feel like I'm at like watching Three's Company, and Cara Dune's just going in and out of the front door. And I'm still wondering if these three people are sleeping together. I'm just confused.
I feel like at the end of this series, this first season, I think his crew will be IG-11. It'll be Cara Dune. It'll be the Ugnaught, and it'll be, I think, Carl Weathers somehow will turn around.
That would be cool. I'd like that. I'd like to see that character play more of a central role, because it's going to get really old really quick if every 3 episodes we're going back to that planet being like, what's my next job?
Yeah. No, and I think that's what they're doing with this season is they're setting up, this is your backstory. This is eight episodes of backstory, and then we can grow these characters together. So
absolutely.
Just my thoughts.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we want to get your opinion in the live chat about all that stuff. Make sure you're letting us know down in the comment below. Again, just big thanks to Bake the Snake, Mr. Rez. We got Rick Villanueva in there. We got a couple others just really chatting up a storm right now. So it's really cool to see this conversation happening. Pete, what do you say? It looks like Jason is not going to be available for the show, unfortunately. No worries, we'll get him on a future episode. That's not a problem at all. But why don't we just go to the giveaway? Let's just go ahead and do that. Do we need to first announce who won last week? Do we need to do that?
Sure. Yeah. Last week we did the hashtag. Was it Mando Jetpack?
Yes.
Last week.
Yes.
We had the 3 different ways of entering, and this week, let's see who was our winner this week. It was. He's been in. I don't think he's in this week. I haven't seen him, but he's been around. If you're listening or watching, make sure to email us at streamingsw@gmail. The gentleman who goes by the name "Who Would Want This Name," and he won. He won last week's giveaway, which is a signed autograph picture from Dominic Pace, and Dominic just sent those to me. I got them, and so I will get those out the door.
Very cool.
Really appreciate all of you being with us today.
Oh, okay. So I was going to say, do you want to transition to the
I
giveaway
do
for
this
this week?
every time. I do this every time.
Yeah, it's
so
like
let's. So we're gonna do another giveaway this week. I keep doing it. I keep doing it too. But so
I thought you were having a stroke. Oh, I was gonna be like, Jackson, get in the room, Jackson.
Safe. I might be, but I don't think so. So this week we're gonna give away another Black Series figure.
Sweet.
And I don't know what hashtag should we use. Let's use the hashtag.
Well, what's the figure? Let's see the figure first.
Oh, yes,
do you have the figure nearby?
I do. It's right here.
Oh, okay, Cassian Endor. Tilt that up, man.
Cassian Endor Black
up.
Series figure. That's not a bad gig, right?
No, that's not.
Light, right?
God, that glare's terrible. Oh my god,
that's really awful.
Oh god, I'm blinded. Oh my gosh.
It's a Cassian Endor Black Series figure. Trust me on it. It really was. But we are streaming Star Wars, and we know that Cassian's coming down the pike, so you'll be ahead of the game. You'll have this one as a winner, and there's 3 ways to enter. So one is to use the hashtag. Well, let's use the hashtag. What's a good hashtag? I didn't think this through. Let's say
there we go.
Hashtag
I didn't. I thought you were going to say hashtag I didn't think this through. That'd be funny.
That would be a great hashtag to follow. But let's do hashtag Cassian.
Okay.
This week. And so here's how the giveaway works. We need you to comment below in the replay of this video, not in the live chat, in the replay, hashtag Cassian. That's one entry. The second entry is going to be if you share this episode on Twitter or whatever social media network you use with the hashtag Cassian, and make sure to share with your friends, families, loved ones, people you barely know, or your son who stops by for the show.
What a stud.
The third way is if you're listening to this on Around the Galaxy, or even if you're not, but you want to share the Around the Galaxy episode, do that on Twitter with the hashtag Cassian, and you will be entered. So that's 3 ways to enter, and the more ways you enter, the more chances you have to win the Cassian and/or Black Series action figure. So we would love to do that. Do you want to do a trivia question real quick?
Yeah, we can do a trivia question. You want to give something away in the live chat?
Yeah, because I have something here. It's this will be no glare. This is a little beanie.
Oh wow!
Let's see. Put it on your head, and now I can't hear you guys as well, which is probably not a terrible thing for everybody. But so a beanie, we'll be giving this away. I need to think of here's a trivia question. I'm going to give you a really easy trivia question.
Can you wear the hat forever though? I like that hat. That should be your uniform for the show.
I'm gonna wear this from now on. I'm gonna be like, I think he's on the chat. James from Rebel Scum podcast. He always wears a hat, which is cool. Yeah. I think I saw him in there at one point. So, all right. So get your fingers ready to type. The first one to type it in correctly wins. Now, if you listen to my episode this past week on Around the Galaxy, I asked this question to Marshall Julius as well, but it's one of my favorite questions. And it has nothing to do with streaming Star Wars or Disney Plus. But what were Han and Luke's call signs on Hoth?
Ooh.
Han and Luke's call signs on Hoth at the beginning. They say them at the beginning of the movie. First one to nail it gets this hat, complete with my my hair product. That's
gross.
in there.
What do you use? Do you use hair wax?
Who's the first one? Bring up that chat. Let's see who the first one to type that in is. Let's see.
We don't have anybody yet. This is a tough one. This was not easy.
Really?
No, it's not easy. Like I'm trying to think of right now. Like it was Han's call sign from from Empire, right?
Yeah, and Han and Luke's. I need them both.
Oh, okay. All right.
Who's got him? Who's got him? Let's see. Anybody got it? Nope. 2med2 missed it. Rule Farm Boy got it right. RFB, Echo 3 and Echo 7. 2med2 was Echo 3 and Echo 8. He was close. He missed it by just 1. That's all right. That's good. So we have our winners for this week.
That
So
was not
little farm
easy.
boy, I will I'll send you this hat.
Does it?
I'll wash it first if you prefer.
I was gonna ask if it smelled good. Does it smell good? Your hair's looking really good too now.
Yeah,
You-
now it's it's my new look.
Your-
I don't
your
have as
hair
much hair
right
as I
here-
used to.
I think
I might have to wear these just because I'm losing. I don't have as much.
your hair is like kind of looks like a flame right now, and I think that's gonna be me in like 20 years. There's a little bit right here. No, you look good.
Ah,
You look good.
I'm going with this. This is going to be my new look.
Well,
I'm gonna
hey,
have to go out.
we do definitely
get
want to
another
say
one.
congratulations to Roll Farm Boy for winning that, and congratulations again to everyone who has participated with the trivia and the live chat. Also, just the weekly giveaways. And so, yeah, for the next week to give away this Black Series figure, make sure you comment in the video section of this episode once this live stream ends here in a couple of seconds. And be sure you're tweeting that episode out using the hashtag Cassian, and help us spread the word about streaming Star Wars, because the more people we get in the Star Wars conversation, obviously, just the more fun we can have, And man,
Absolutely.
the live chat is just having a great time. That trivia question was outrageously difficult, and I'm fine with it because that's entertaining to watch. I'm glad I don't have to answer these questions, but that was not. That was BS. That was tough. People were stumped, but no, I think it was really great. Pete, anything we need to say here before? Well, let's do this. I want to remind everyone that the best place to reach out to us during the week, at any time, any day, Streaming SW on Twitter. You can reach out to either Pete and I will reach out to you there, but that's where we post new episodes, when we have our next guest, when we have giveaways. We're posting all that stuff on Twitter at Streaming Star Wars. And again, you can watch the rewind of our episode here on Beyond the Blast Doors YouTube channel. Usually go live Friday nights, but life happens, families happen, so we adapt, okay? So sometimes we'll do an afternoon show, and that's not the end of the world because you can always catch us on the rewind. And then Around the Galaxy is Pete's show, and that's where you can listen to the audio version, the podcast version of the show on his streaming, on his stream, I should say. So wherever you can listen to podcasts, you can find Around the Galaxy there, and that's where you can find Streaming Star Wars. Now, Pete, is there anything left before we let the fine people go on this Friday do we need to discuss?
No, this week on Around the Galaxy, we're going to have Mark Newbold from Fantha Tracks. What? What is it bad? I'm giving a little bit of play there?
I'm going to mute you. Listen, all right, so all I'm going to preface this with is Pete sent me this today to use on the show. That's all I'm going to say.
Show the world that you're a streaming Star Wars fan with merch. Merch! Merch! Brand new streaming Star Wars t-shirts, mugs, pillows, and laptop covers are available now at www.streamingsw.com. Click the link to TeePublic and you'll find dozens of pieces of logo emblazoned merchandise, like sweatshirts.
Yeah, was that even the end of it? That wasn't even the end of it.
You didn't even make it all the way to the end.
I didn't even make the way
That's all right.
through the end of it, though. That was cracking me up. So Pete sends me this thing, and he's like, hey, I made a promotion for the merch. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. So he's like, hey, watch it and let me know what you think, okay? So it's definitely in line with like those really crappy cable commercials from like the late 90s, early 2000s. But that's like, when it's done intentionally, it's cool, right? So like Pete did a really nice job with that. But we were supposed to play that after our interview segment today. That didn't happen. That's okay. So, but Pete put in all this work to make that promotion, which is better than my. I don't know. I'm really partial, Pete, to the Beyond the Blast Doors pin promo.
Oh, I like the pin promo.
Because we got like
my inspiration.
We got some shots. That's an insult. We got some clips from the movies and the cartoons, and it kind of felt right. Like it felt like 30% what it should be. But you've really elevated. Pete's like, hey, we really need to find a way to get like a really like a grainy cable look to this promo. I said, best luck.
I'll tell you what we should do, Dave. I'm going to put it up again on the Streaming Star Wars Twitter feed, and let's get everybody to share it. And let's share it with your Cassian, and we'll give you a fourth entry into the contest. Let's get that out there because, hey, on a serious note, the t-shirts are on sale. If you do like them, if you're going to buy one, and I don't push them on anybody. It's cool that they're out there. I like to buy them. I like to make them so I can buy them for myself, because that way I get a t-shirt. But if you do like them, I mean, they're now's the time to do it. They're doing this crazy big 35% off sale thing. So share it and put Cassian. We'll give you another entry. Merch.
I like how Jesse comments in the live chat. This is Jesse, JLS Comics, And he's like, Crazy Pete and his crazy merch store. So
That's right.
he knows that I harass you a lot about your merchandise, but it's just because I respect you. Pete, it's been a lot of fun as always.
Absolutely, man.
Big thanks to everyone in the live chat. You guys make our Star Wars conversation a lot of fun. We've gone through the social. I'm not showing you the pin promo. You know what though? To make good on this, I am going to play the entire streaming Star Wars promo, and then we're just going to fade this one out. So you have a great rest of your Friday. We love you all here on Streaming Star Wars. We'll see you back here next week, Episode 5, Chapter 5. Dave Filoni returns to direct his second episode of live-action Star Wars. Really excited to see what is in store for us then. In the meantime, comment down on this episode. Make sure you include that hashtag Cassian so you can win that contest. Be sure you're sharing us with your friends and not your friends. Like, the best thing to do right now is just honestly to hit the share button, post on all your social media. Okay, let's watch this promo together. It's going to be a lot of fun. See you guys soon.
Show the world that you're a streaming Star Wars fan with merch. Merch! Merch! Brand new streaming Star Wars t-shirts, mugs, pillows, and laptop covers are available now at www.streamingsw.com. Click the link to TeePublic and you'll find dozens of pieces of logo emblazoned merchandise. Like sweatshirts? We got them. Like stickers? You'll find them there too. Like t-shirts with Dominic Pace's Gecko the Bounty Hunter? Yes, you'll find them there also. And right now, in honor of Black Friday, the only holiday in the US that matters, 35% off site-wide, including $13 t-shirts and more. Go to www.streamingsw.com and click the